right. There we are.
Hey.
Hey. It's me.
That's right. We are here.
We're live. Welcome
That's
to Talking
right.
Heads, everyone. Episode 257. Your once weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Steve.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us on this Wednesday night or in podcast form over on Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, usually some Star Trek. All super chats are read on the air so long as they will not permanently demonetize the channel. We do drink alcohol on the show, and if you're drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat, and we'll give some early show shoutouts as we go along. Last but not least, if you'd like to take part in the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to the Discord server, where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and take part in the awesome community that hangs out over there.
Yeah, and a quick note about the after parties. We've been doing this, at least I've been doing this the last couple of times I went there. I would just like, hey, we're all here sitting talking, let's go play some games together. So
Right.
I think last time I was on, we played some like Overwatch 2. So maybe a little more incentive to come out and hang out with us.
Yeah, we used to do some weekly gaming sessions on the Discord. Might have to bring some of that back. In fact, I've been talking to Rhett about a day that might work for us to just like, hey, let's just block out 3 hours and let's go game.
It used to be a Saturday, but I think that's kind of like a lot of people's busiest, because a lot of people live their lives in the weekend, right?
Right.
So asking them to take time out and come play with us, maybe we're that special. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows?
But yeah, Saturday tends to be like my one day off. I usually try to take Thursdays too, but there ain't no hope of taking a Thursday off in the next couple of weeks. I've got like 3 PC builds that have to be done in the next 2 weeks.
So yes. No rest for the weary.
It's been kind of a grind. I mean, October is usually a grind for me anyway, both personally and professionally. I also manage a haunted house and have for the last, 18 years. I've been doing that.
If you were doing that this year.
Yep, I've been out there every night. So,
all right.
Yep. So yeah, it's been a heck of a lot of fun. But yeah, it's been busy.
Woohoo! Right, Michael loves my shirt. Thanks, I love my shirt too. This goes way back.
Malventano just dropped a note in the Discord saying Basement Triple Rack has finally attained its final form. And boy, is that a beautiful thing to behold.
That's in his basement, huh? Right? Is that next to his stove?
Yeah.
Is that where he cooks because his wife banished him to the basement?
Right.
Because he spends too much money on server equipment?
Yeah. I'm wondering if his hot water heater's actually plugged in or if he's just, lined some radiators on the back of a server rack and he just pipes hot water into it.
Hey, I'm sure it's going to get more consistent hot water for showers than with his hot water heater.
Yeah. I mean, my server rack idles at 1,000 watts. That's a lot of power I could be dumping back into my house for heating. So.
Oh, he says it's a chest freezer. It's to keep all his TV dinners.
There you go. Oh, and in parentheses, it's working a bit hard.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and get this show on the road. Steve, what are you drinking this fine last Wednesday before Halloween?
So, I think we talked about this once, like how one of our favorite styles is ESB, but it's kind of hard to find people who make a decent ESB. I was pretty excited today when I found an ESB, but with a twist, it's a dry hopped ESB. And as a bonus twist, made by one of our favorite breweries, Oakshire.
Ooh.
So I'm especially excited to try this one.
If you've never had an Oakshire beer, they're a smaller brewery out of Eugene. They don't ship much outside this local region, but they have some absolutely dynamite beers. The one that always comes to my mind is their Hellshire.
Hampshire is one of the best like barrel-aged stouts.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe in the United States, but definitely in the Pacific Northwest.
It's up there with a lot of the Fort George barrel-aged stuff that they'll do based on their Kavatka stout. And you could put it right up against Bourbon County. I mean, it's of that par.
Yeah, so definitely. And my second one, I'm going with another good favorite brewery of mine, Breakside, with their Fresh Hop 2022.
Nice.
Since we still have a few more cans of Fresh Hop stuff out there.
Yep.
Which I am a big fan of Fresh Hop IPAs.
Yep. These 6 weeks are like the most wonderful time of the year in Oregon.
I know.
They really are. What's funny is we've got an all Oregon show then. Oh,
nice.
So I've got 2 beers lined up. I will probably start with Ex Novo's The Magic Stout.
Nice.
This is a collaboration with Puff Coffee. So it's Puff the Magic Dragon Stout. Yeah. And this one clocks in at 7.4%. And brewed right here in Portland. Vanilla beans, brewed in collaboration with Wizards at Puff Coffee. So,
and then the guy who wrote the lyrics just passed away.
Yeah.
Puff the Magic Dragon. Yeah,
I think I heard that.
Yeah.
And then we have an annual release. This comes out right around Halloween time every single year from our good friends over at Rogue Ales and Spirits. Everyone knows the Rogue Dead Guy Ale. It is a staple that is shipped nationally.
Yeah.
It's a very good, mid-range, heavy malt beverage.
It's a Maibach, yeah.
Right, it's a Maibach. This one is the Dead Guy Ale, but they age it in Dead Guy whiskey barrels. So Rogue also produces a Dead Guy whiskey, and this is aged in some of their in-house whiskey barrels. It's 9.5%, but this is like turning the malt up to 11.
Oh, yeah.
I've
had it before.
So freaking fantastic.
It's delicious.
It's actually very reminiscent of like a Scotch ale out of this brew. But the Dead Guy Ale is already fantastic. This is amazing. So I think I'm going to start with the coffee stout. No, I think I'm going to go the other way. I think I'm going to start with the Dead Guy. And then go to the coffee stout, because I think the coffee stout would be better warmed up just a touch.
I'm definitely going with the ESB first. I'm the most curious about that. Oh man!
All of these cans have been a little bit of a hot canning. They've all foamed right out of the can for me. So there we go. All right, let's see what we've got brewing in the chat. Don't even know if I can pronounce that username, but we've got Choa Shinwei, something like that, drinking a Kentucky pumpkin barrel ale. Let's see. T.S. Simmons, how do we feel about a Belgian sour beer?
Oh, Belgian sours are great.
Yes.
Like the cherry Belgian sours are delicious.
Yes. Lethal Resonance has a Dark Thunder Storm King, Victory Brewing, 9.1%. Let's see. Tyler's got a Victory Merry Monkey. Never heard of that one.
No.
Yeah. Oft Infinity has an Apple Lantern Blake's Hard Cider, 9.5%.
I almost picked up a Perry today, too, because I haven't had a Perry in forever.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, Sean says, Craft Computing, hoping the PC builds go without a hitch. I know, not likely, but one can hope. Well, today I actually started a benchmarking project in which I tried to take 2 working PCs that I already had and benchmark them against each other. And one of the motherboards died, so we're off to a phenomenal start.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Rhett goes, did I do something wrong? I said, yeah, you came to work for me.
Your mere presence screwed everything up.
Let's see. Springles says, I want to know what Steve's shirt says.
Oh, it says, it is pitch black. You are likely to be eaten by a grue. And if you don't know where that's from, it's from Zork.
Zork.
The one of the original Infocom text games.
Yep. Yeah, one of the original BBS multi-user dial-in and play text-only labyrinths.
I don't remember it being dial-in. They might have made a mod for it for a dial-in, but I definitely remember loading it up on floppies.
Okay. I could have swore that one was a BBS, but maybe I'm thinking about...
I think it's been converted with so many things. In fact, there's websites.
Oh no, I'm thinking Red Dragon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Boy, are we aging ourselves or what?
Oh gosh, yes.
Michael's got some sake for a Wednesday. That sounds
sake.
Awesome. It's been a while since I've had sake.
I usually try to pick it up when I go out for sushi, but
yeah,
I don't go out to sushi that much.
Yep. Sean's got a gin and tonic.
Oh, that's good too.
Loves me some Beefeater. Yes. Andrew's got an iced coffee from the cafeteria. Tastes like a medium or a dark roast with half and half and raw sugar.
Okay.
And finally, we'll end with Jason's got a Synergy Golden Pineapple Raw Kombucha.
Good for
you.
Your
Like
gut
some
health.
kombucha?
Have some. It's good for your tum tum.
Yes. All right. So I think we are well lubricated and ready to dive into the news.
Oh yeah.
So, starting with, the 4090 launch, let's just say it's been a little bit rough, and I think it's getting a whole lot rougher for not only nVidia, but a lot of their board partners as well, and it's because of the power plug that nVidia is recommending all 4000 series cards use. Well, as it turns out, the very first 4000 series card, the one that could draw upwards of 850 watts by itself, doesn't like having all that power ran through slimmer gauged wire, which is exactly what the all-new nVidia 16-pin is. It uses a thinner gauge wire than either the old 8-pin GPU connector that we all know that can draw about 150 watts per connection, or the new 12-pin connection that was introduced on the 3000 series founder cards. That, in theory, could do about 450 watts. Well, they needed a new power connection. And what direction do you go other than slimming down your wires?
You go more wires?
Right. So yeah, as Tom's Hardware puts it, great balls of fire. It's also inspired a number of different investigative journalism pieces, as well as some investigation by Jay's 2 Cents and Gamers Nexus and the like, all looking into, is this actually a problem, or is there another factor here? Is there something else that's causing 4000 series cards to quite literally go up in smoke?
Yeah.
I am no stranger to GPU fires. I've had a GPU self-combust on me once before, and really don't know the cause of mine either. But what I can tell you is they're all failing in the same way and at the same location. And boy, if it doesn't sound like it's this new power connector that's failing.
Yeah. And it seems to be, and I was reading a little bit about this this afternoon, and the reigning theory is it's kind of about how it's oriented when it's plugged in. Because what happens is the plug comes in and it's supposed to sit straight, but sometimes it's like this, so it's not hitting all the connectors, and some of the connectors are getting more power than others, which creates more heat, which then overheats and then creates the fire.
Right. There's two factors to consider. If you're plugging in at an angle and your top plugs no longer have a good connection, not only are you going to heat up the connections that are driving more power through, again, thinner wires, but you're also going to increase heat because of the resistance of trying to pass power through not a good enough connection.
Right. Yeah.
So definitely some things that could be causing this. And like I said, there's multiple sites investigating right now, Tom's Hardware being one. We've also got PC Games also taking a look at it, as well as a number of other articles that I saw crop up on it as well. But yeah, there definitely seems to be a smoking gun,
so to speak,
around this this new 16-pin connector. So I don't have any thing to say on it at this point. I've not personally experienced it. Obviously, I don't have a 4090 on hand. I will say, Hardware Unboxed has actually been working on a physical bit of merchandise that is a 16-pin connector that is a right-angled dongle. So you can pin directly up, and then it will hold the connector at a 90 degree to the graphics card.
Right, so it won't bend so much.
Right. Is that the actual problem? I don't know. Right. But there are people in the know that they're leaning that direction. But nVidia has yet to comment on this. And at the rate that these have been cropping up, yes, problems like this do rise to the top of social media attention when they happen. It's also happened more than just like twice. And so, you know, when an iPhone catches fire, it makes news. It makes headlines. When an RTX 4090 makes fire, it also catches headlines. This is more reminiscent of the Samsung Note 7 catching fire.
Yeah, because it happened to so many people. And
because
no longer a coincidence.
Right, it was no longer a coincidence. It was no longer, well, how did you have it charging? Yeah. It was just, I plugged it in and it caught fire. Like, that should be enough.
That should be enough, exactly, because it shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, I was charging it on top of my fireplace or something like that. No, this is just plugging it in and it caught fire. This is just, they're just plugging it in and it catches fire. There was, in some cases, people had bought pre-made PCs. They didn't even build it themselves. So it wasn't like they were screwing up.
So Novella Hub says arcing.
Arcing. Oh, I see that, yes.
Further down, someone said, are you saying is that all Intel's fault? Intel Arc.
Intel Arc, yes.
Rom says I'm just holding it wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's definitely some things that need to be looked at, and NVIDIA, you need to say something.
I think they made a statement to say that they are investigating it. I think that was the extent of their messaging on this, which isn't, it doesn't really bode well. I hope the people who did happen to, they get refunds for their very, very expensive card. Because, this is just a little too suspicious. And a problem that's happening over and over and over that they're seeing, that there could be an issue.
Yeah. One thing that I completely forgot to add to the news, but I'll go ahead and touch on right now, is even though the 4090s have been in fairly short supply, and it looks like NVIDIA's kind of trying to make some artificial scarcity to keep demand high for these cards, and we'll probably see a similar release next week with the 4080. NVIDIA is said to be allocating its production scale, or production with TSMC, for their new H100 Hopper GPUs rather than their Ada 4090s. Now, the Hopper is a very, very unique card, as it's one of the few GPUs that have ever been produced that don't conform to API standards. This does not, or is not capable of rendering DirectX 12 or Vulkan or even OpenGL. In fact, this is a GPU made pretty much entirely of tensor cores, which is the AI and straight up compute sections of NVIDIA Quadro cards, Tensor first started being used in consumer cards in the 3000 series with Ampere. Or sorry, with Turing, with 2000 series. And in part led to some of the ray tracing and RT cores that were being developed and pushed at that time. Well, the Hopper, the H100 GPU, is made up almost entirely of tensor cores and will not render graphics at all. Instead, it's being used for compute and AI acceleration. Mm-hmm. But the crazy thing is, it's 3.5 times faster than any previous compute GPU. So even your highest of your high-end Quadro and Tesla cards and your RTX A6000s and things like that, this card is 3.5 times faster at AI computation than NVIDIA's best. So it's a very interesting card. It's a card that I don't know that I would ever have a use for, nor do I think any, average consumer, let alone gamer, would ever need, because it doesn't actually run graphics tasks, even though it is technically a GPU.
You can sit there and install your own local version of crayon.ai and just sit there and generate AI-generated images all day.
Right, exactly.
It's for, I guess it's for people who want, when they're going to embed that into Word. You're going to need that card to run Office from now on.
Yes. Got to generate that clip art, Steve.
Generate those the AI clip art.
Jay also mentioned that CableMod is working or has a right angle connector for the 4090. Yeah, so it seems that people are starting to look at the angle of the dangle, so to speak. But it feels like we've been down this road before with 3000 series cards going like, how many capacitors are on the back of this? Let's all count and be armchair electrical engineers. When that wound up not being the case at all. It wound up being, hey, NVIDIA, dial your steps back by 13 megahertz. And it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've seen early graphics card failures or crashes or things like that before. I kind of want NVIDIA to say something before I'm going to go, that's your problem. Although there is a lot of suspicion around that connector. So, and it seems like a lot of things may be going wrong with them.
So, yeah, looking to hear something from NVIDIA in the next coming days.
Yep.
Hopefully by Monday, at least.
And I apologize, Kren. I missed your 2 Aussie bucks to say good day, mates. Good day. How you getting on? It's about the only 2 phrases in Australian that I know.
The shrimp on the Barbie is not the...
I wouldn't go with that one.
You wouldn't go with that one? Oh, what was the...
That's racist! No.
the Energizer mascot from Australia back in like the 90s and 80s. Jocko. Do you remember that guy?
Was that the Energizer Bunny Jackalope?
No. He was like a guy and he liked Energizer. I don't remember much from it, but I remember Jocko.
I don't remember Jocko. I do remember the competitor to America's Funniest Home Videos with, I can see him. He's dumber in Dumb and Dumber. He's not Jim Carrey. He's the other guy. Daniels.
Oh, Jeff Daniels?
Jeff Daniels. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
So
it's your name.
It's my name. I should have remembered that. Yeah.
It's like, who's that Buscemi guy? What was his name? Yeah. Oh, it's Steve Buscemi. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It should be easy for me to remember. I remember Daniels. I mean, come on.
Well, probably because of the Jack Daniels you drink all the time.
Right. Exactly. Wait a second. I don't drink that much Jack. Anyway, he did a spin-off show put up against America's Funniest Home Videos. And I don't remember the name of the show, but they had a recurring self-produced funny video where they would run a jackalope around in fairly humorous situations. And it was a puppet rabbit with some some deer antlers shoved into its head. And it was Jeff Daniels doing that voice, doing a really weird cartoon voice that, he's done voice acting before.
I don't remember that at all, actually.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny to remember that.
Yeah, so...
But then I remember Jocko, and you don't.
But no, you say Jocko, and I'm like, oh, it's Energizer Bunny, but as a jackalope. No. Now I'm confused.
Yeah, his name was, I guess, Mark Johnson. He's, Australian actor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's not a knife. That's another Australian one.
Yeah. Now I'm looking for pictures.
Of Jocko?
Of jackalope.
Oh, of a jackalope. Or if they got a jackalope.
There you go. That's a jackalope.
Yeah. Now do a search for Jocko Energizer.
Right.
That's the guy.
Okay. Okay, then. He seems intense.
Yeah, I think that was his shtick.
Yeah.
The commercials, he was like super intense.
Right. All right, then. Let's see. Thought I had a couple different... that's maybe I was mistaken. Nope, don't see any of those. Okay. All right. Rom says, I'm not here to F spiders.
Yep. All right, good.
I'm not here to waste time. I'm not here to beat around the bush. Haha. Yeah. See, I can turn her back on you. Yeah. Let's see. That's not a knife. Craft Computing have a meeting at 11 p.m. tonight. Fun times for the next 10 hours.
Oh, gosh. 11 p.m. Those are terrible. Yeah, I had to do that. I had to do that not too long ago. I had a meeting with someone in the Netherlands, and it was either like super early in the morning or like close to midnight. I'm like, no, I'm doing midnight, man. I'm not getting up.
Yeah. Yeah, and Andrew reminds me, thank you for the $2, Andrew, much appreciated, that MyConst is working on rebar, that is an addressable bar for X99. That is adding support for GPU memory sharing on X99. So yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on, especially with more and more graphics cards supporting it. There's Intel Arc, there's AMD 5000 series cards and 6000 series cards support it, and the newest 3000 and 4000 from nVidia support it. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on as that ramps up a little bit. Cool. Well, AMD is also in the news this week, and before we pour one out to Optane, I feel like we should raise a glass to AMD for not letting it die. So AMD is working on bringing CXL memory technology to future consumer CPUs. Now, for those not familiar or who didn't watch my Intel Optane video, I added 1 terabyte of persistent DRAM to my Craftinator server, to my Storinator AV15. And Optane works a couple of different ways, but at the end of the day, it is inherently different from standard DDR4 or DDR5 memory. It's a non-volatile memory. That is, if it loses power, it retains all of its data, much like NAND flash, much like your SSDs. Whereas standard DRAM, so that's your system memory, if they lose power, they lose everything and they have to rebuild whatever tables they have from scratch. So it's a very interesting technology, and it has a lot of implications for both memory scaling, memory size, as well as databases or tables or things that you need to hold as close as you can to the CPU to maximize your throughput, such as SQL databases and things like that.
Yeah.
Getting super low latency access to large database sets in memory at sometimes less than a quarter of the cost of what it would be for traditional DRAM. So I did a piece on adding 1 terabyte of Optane memory to my Storinator and tested the storage latency of it. And it was something in the magnitude of like 250 times faster.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like 13 milliseconds for some lookups versus 0.01 milliseconds on Optane. Like, it's nuts. Anyway, AMD is working on essentially an open standard for non-volatile memory, non-volatile system memory. And it's called CXL. Now, Intel killed their Optane division because of poor adoption. They weren't seeing everyone buying in and using it. And it's partially because Optane is still fairly expensive and is limited in its uses for actual memory projects. So it is about 1/3 to half the speed of traditional DRAM, but it's also slower than NVMe. However, It's lower latency. So it has very specific use cases in server environments, and it just didn't fill enough needs or come close enough to everything that it could be an outright replacement or needed to be used in every single server. However, there's still some situations in which it is the gold standard to go to as far as storage latency, as far as certain databases and certain workloads being that close to the CPU and having that fast of access to it. It's night and day difference versus DRAM or NAND flash. So there are definitely use cases in support of it. But Intel said it's not a profitable division for us. We can't make enough money off of this, and it's taking too much of our research and development dollars versus other products. So it just doesn't make sense to continue. Well, AMD is continuing research on CXL, and it is, again, an open protocol that can support many different types of memory, including non-volatile memory, including DDR5, DDR4, GDDR5 and 6, all of these being very close to the CPU, being integrated into the memory channels, and giving you low latency access to databases with varying speeds and latencies and things like that. The cool thing is, CXL is also being developed by Intel. So they're going, we still see the advantage to this, but I think maybe opening up the platform instead of saying, no, you have to have a 2nd or 3rd gen scalable Intel Xeon for Optane to work. Maybe if you had broader support Intel, it would have done better for you. AMD's AM5 platform with DDR5 and PCI Express 5 is actually in the works to potentially get CXL memory support. So non-volatile memory coming to desktop systems.
From AMD. And you got to give it up to AMD because they seem to be the company that will take proprietary technology and software like Optane or, with nVidia.
Super sampling.
Super sampling. And they'll do TrueSync instead of the nVidia, and they'll just open source it. Like, here you guys go. And then it just kind of forces everybody else to adopt it. They'll be like, okay, all right, we'll do it. Fine,
Right.
And so I kind of like them. I kind of love them for that, actually. They bring the cost down of everything. Like monitors that used to have the sync technology on it used to be insanely expensive. And then they released TrueSync, and then all of a sudden the cost of monitors came down. FreeSync, FreeSync. FreeSync, and everything just came down.
And now it's a standard feature on every graphics card and every monitor.
Yeah. So yeah, you kind of, if you like that, you have to thank AMD for that. And so if this becomes a standard in future motherboards, and you got to thank AMD for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I, for one, am definitely super excited because there's certainly some use cases for non-volatile memory in my systems, especially when it comes to cloud gaming and distributed computing, VDI, because there's no other storage that you can get that low of latency to support that many clients with. And getting your operating systems and your games library onto, heck, if I can get like two terabytes of non-volatile and put it into,
it'll spin right up.
Right.
It'll be like almost an instant load.
Your overall bandwidth is not your limiting factor when it comes to multiple reads or multiple VMs running on a server stack. It comes down to your server latency. Because at the end of the day, as we've kind of shown with NVMe drives, it's not about how much data you're loading, it's how quickly you can access the data. And the latency dropping from 10 or 12 or 13 milliseconds down to literally fractions of a millisecond. It's huge. So there are huge ramifications for this technology to make its way not only into servers, but into consumer hardware as well.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see what they start doing with this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can even have operating systems starting to look at and prioritizing what gets cached on them. They can have it manage it for you. These are the things I use most. Therefore, let's go store them in there, and they'll come up a lot faster. Yeah, it'd be great to see what they do with this stuff.
Yeah. So, I for one am definitely excited and hope it does turn out to come to market. Also, if they make it an open standard, might make it cheaper too.
Yes, that's another thing too.
I still paid $500 a stick for my 512 gigabyte Optane DIMMs, and I've got two of them. I spent $1,000 in Optane DIMMs just to try it out. Did you know that PCI Express NVMe Gen 3 drives are down to like $80 for a terabyte now?
I'm like super surprised at how much they've dropped.
Right.
I mean, some things are still pretty high, but gosh, the NVMe drives have come way down.
Yep. You can get 2 terabytes for as little as about $140.
I know. Like just about a year and a half ago, I spent that for just 1 terabyte. And it's up to 2 terabytes.
Yep. Yeah. So that should be fun and definitely something to keep an eye on. You know what else you should keep an eye on? Today's video sponsor, Linode. Hosting your own servers also means you get to host all of your own problems. And even the most skilled chief engineers will tell you you should decentralize your network. So why not host your services with Linode? If it runs on Linux, it'll run on Linode. That includes the software for most of the tutorials on my channel, like how to run your own ad-blocking recursive DNS servers, VPN gateways, your own cloud-based Plex servers, and more. They offer shared CPU plans for as little as $5 per month and can scale to as high as you need to go, with dedicated CPUs, virtualized hosting, GPU hosting, NVMe block storage, and more. Even if you do host your own servers, you can use Linode to keep a backup off-site, because remember, RAID is not a backup. Linode is also expanding at light speed, with 12 new global data centers planned for the end of 2023. Visit linode.com/craftcomputing and get a $100 60-day credit just for signing up for a new account. That's linode.com/craftcomputing, and again, a huge thanks to Linode for sponsoring today's episode.
That's right. You save a buttload with Linode.
Don't you start too.
Oh, that was pretty bad.
Now, for those who haven't seen, my most recent video does have a new sketch that goes with my Linode ad, and it's
actually really
fantastic.
Liked that one. It was really good. It was well done.
It's great. I also am really a fan of David Does Tech. He and Ian Cutress have been doing their best, like, Southern Texas, Arkansas type accents. Yeah. And so they try to do like a little Southern drawl with their ad reads. David Does Tech's pours himself like a cup of coffee and goes like, On my average Sunday, I like to sit back with a piping hot cup of Linode. And the whole ad read has nothing on screen except him just sitting there drinking from his coffee cup with like a Linode logo taped on the front of it.
He's not like in a bathrobe sitting in front of a fire or anything like that?
Nope, he is in an easy chair, and it gives those kind of vibes. But yeah, I totally would have gone with like a smoking jacket.
Smoking jacket, pipe.
Right. Sit back with a piping hot cup of Linode.
I mean, I've seen a lot of like sponsored ads on a lot of like popular YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. I think my favorite is still the Internet Historian and his NordVPN spots. Those are pretty dang hilarious.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, visit linode.com/craftcomputing. Link in the video description. Get yourself a $100 credit valid for 60 days.
Nice. Speaking
Speaking of things that should have been open standard, but NVIDIA decided to do 100% in-house and force the market to evolve, DLSS has been a game changer in a lot of games, especially when it comes to running higher resolutions with lower technology or lower power.
Right.
So for those that don't know, DLSS is their dynamic superscaling technology. Mm-hmm. It allows you to run games at 720p or 1080p, but render them all the way up to 4K and use artificial intelligence to fill in the gaps and the texture mapping and rasterization and geometries and things like that.
So instead of looking like a blurry mess, it actually looks really good. Yeah.
Right. And so you only have to render at 720p, and then it goes, I'll take it from here, and uses, cores that are not CUDA, that are not rasterization, to upscale your end result. And the results are pretty darn good in most cases. However, the developers have to integrate that API based on NVIDIA's hardware support into their games. And so every single game relies on the developer to integrate support. And we all know how well that usually goes. However, apparently, there's a new method of unlocking DLSS for faster frame rates and better graphics, regardless of what GPU you own. Mm-hmm. It could be NVIDIA's official DLSS, Turing, Ampere, Ada framework. It could be an AMD GPU. It could be an Intel GPU. It could even be the integrated graphics on your Steam Deck. It doesn't matter. So someone has figured out how to unlock DLSS and enable it on every single title, which, by the way, we've already kind of done with FSR, with AMD's competing tech. It already works on pretty much every game you try it on. Now you can use either pipeline regardless of what hardware you own.
That's awesome. Yeah.
For things like the Steam Deck, that is actually pretty important. Now, it's not compatible with any game running at 720p or lower. And technically, the Steam Deck is running at 1280 by 800, but still. But if you wanted to plug that into a TV, via Steam Dock or whatever else, and output over HDMI and, game from a controller on the couch, this would allow you to upscale and upsample your 720p gameplay up to 1080p on the screen in front of you. So definitely kind of a cool endeavor, and something that I wouldn't necessarily run on the Steam Deck just as the Steam Deck, because it can play pretty much any game at 720p. The hardware that's inside is incredible with the RDNA 2 and the Ryzen 4000 CPU. But it does have its limitations. And in my testing, the Aya Neo Next was faster, even though it was using previous generation Vega, but it has 8 CPU cores instead of just 4. And as we find with a lot of games, even at 720p, you can very quickly become CPU limited. And so in general, I found the Aya Neo Next to be faster. But it does lack some GPU horsepower. So this is a system that may benefit much more on the Aya Neo Next than it does on the Steam Deck.
What's the entry level for getting it to work? Is it a simple hack, or what's the? I didn't really read the article, so.
So it all, according to the article, I'm just going to read this verbatim. It all starts with the DLSS unlocker for Cyberpunk 2077. Normally, when running a game that supports DLSS, this option will either be grayed out or not even visible when using any GPU outside of the RTX family. This mod adds an injector to disable RTX checking and will use FSR 2.1 in replacement of DLSS option in the game's graphics option. This is possible thanks to nVidia providing its DLSS implementation as a DLL file. So modders can simply replace said DLL file with their own, then translate DLS calls into FSR 2.1. Which FSR is the open source,
right.
AMD's open source implementation of dynamic upscaling.
So basically just a DLL replacement.
Right.
You just slap it over the top of something.
Yep. Other games that support the mod: Doom Eternal, Horizon Zero Dawn, Marvel's Spider-Man, No Man's Sky, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Red Dead Redemption 2, The Ascent, Ghost Runner, Solstice, Diablo 2 Resurrected, Myst, and more.
Wait, Myst, the original Myst?
No, there's
it uses full motion video in some spots.
No, Myst got remastered in 2021.
Did it now?
It did. So yeah, if you've been wanting upscaling on your Steam Deck or similarly underpowered handheld device or even on a computer, now you can.
That's awesome. Let me see. Myst. Is it on Steam?
It's on Steam. Myst, M-Y-S-T.
Yeah. Oh yeah, look at that. How did I miss that? I'm a big fan of Myst. Oh, they even VR'd it and everything.
Yeah.
Cool. Wish list. There it is.
Woohoo. All right. Windows XP can finally join you for a beer.
That's right.
So, this article, unfortunately, is incorrect in its title because Windows XP was released on October 25th, 2001. Last I checked, 2020 still counted, and it's 2022, which means Windows XP is 21 years old.
Yeah.
But regardless of the article and the title being incorrect, happy 21st birthday, Windows XP.
That's right. Do you still have any systems running Windows XP?
I do. I have one. If you've seen my retro gaming build, my Retro Rocket build, that PC is running Windows XP. And I do have actually a video planned for sometime in November. That is Windows XP based.
How are you gonna get any video capture software to run on that?
Who says I need the video capture to run on the XP machine?
You could just point a camera at the screen, I guess.
Well, you can HDMI out to a video capture card.
That's
or
true.
If you're accessing the machine remotely.
That's true. Yep, if you're accessing the machine remotely.
That's the only hint I'm going to give.
Yeah. Oh, I think I know what you're doing.
So yes, stay tuned to the channel for some maybe not Windows XP news.
Yeah, I think I still have one PC around here running XP. I think it's my main machine. I have never ever upgraded my main machine. It's still running XP.
Yep. No, I ran XP from the very beginning. I built an Athlon XP 1200 system. It wasn't XP because it was Windows XP. It was the Athlon XP 1200. One of the first 1 gigahertz processors. This one was 1.2 gigahertz. And built a Windows XP machine out of that. And I ran Windows XP. Honestly, I ran it right up to the release of Windows Vista. And then I switched to Vista. So Windows Vista was one of those things that I feel in the short term got a bum rap, partially because of Microsoft's own incompetence, and partially because of the high system requirements. It did require pretty ballin' systems just to run the basic OS.
Well, yeah, what it was, I think I remember a lot of vendors who would release things. They still had some old machines that were built for XP. And they're like, well, let's just slap Vista on it. And I think it's Vista ready.
That's
when it was not Vista ready.
That's a deeper story than you know.
Yeah.
So I guess back in 2007, Microsoft had set the minimum requirements for Vista as an Intel 945, so Intel GMA 950 graphics or higher. Intel still had a crap ton of D915 chipsets with the previous generation D8 or GMA 845 or 840 graphics, which was totally not powerful enough. Long story short, Microsoft wound up, whether it was through a check in the mail from a random donor or something more nefarious, wound up supporting and officially recognizing Intel D915 as a chipset that supported Windows Vista. So a lot of people bought brand new PCs with an Intel D915 chipset.
With Windows Vista on it.
With Windows Vista on it.
And it ran like crap.
And it was totally not enough. Right.
Yeah, I know.
There were other shenanigans involving Microsoft and Intel and even AMD and things like that around the release of Vista because it was such a resource hog. But if you had a PC, if you had, a Core 2 Duo and, not even integrated graphics, but some level of discrete graphics card, it actually ran pretty fine.
No. That's why I was like, people poo-poo it quite a bit, but it's usually the people who have inadequate, requirements and they try to run it and this doesn't run as fast as XP. I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. Microsoft wasn't really forthcoming with their requirements and stuff like that. I think I did that with 3 laptops and a desktop of friends who wanted to upgrade to Vista, and then they're like, what did you do to my PC? Why does it run like crap now? What did you want to do? Like, dude, you told me to do this.
So I was fortunate enough to be invited by Microsoft to their beta program for Windows Vista. And on my honeymoon in June of 2006, I was running the Longhorn beta on my laptop. And so that's the laptop that I took on my honeymoon with me. 2006, do the math.
Doesn't seem that long ago, but that's actually a while ago.
It's a while ago.
It's a while ago.
Yep. So, yeah, Longhorn. Woo!
I'll go to Longhorn. Yeah, I think we used to have the MSDN at our office, and this was back in the days when you couldn't download anything, so they shipped out CDs or DVDs of everything. And you used to get this once a quarter. You used to get this giant folder full of all of their Microsoft products, betas, releases, and everything. So I remember when the beta for Windows 98 came out, and I tried that, and that was an absolute trash fire. It was maybe nothing worked on it. All the things that ran on Windows 95 just did not run very well on Windows 98. Granted, it was a beta, but it was nope, I'm not doing another Windows beta after that. That was just an absolute horrible experience.
I've done a number of Windows betas over the years. By the way, let me tell you my laptop specs. I had an AMD Turion 64. I think it was a 1.8 gigahertz, single core, single thread. Pretty much the last laptop that you would expect to run Vista well. Although it did have an AMD, is it an X1600 mobile GPU?
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I think it was an X1600. So mid-tier mobile GPU for the day. Ran pretty darn well. Ran all my side gadgets and things like that, all the widgets and
I do remember the Windows Vista widgets on the side. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that was the thing. Even if it was under spec, if you turned off some of the advanced features and stuff like that, it still ran fine.
Yeah.
It was because it was the first time they used rendering on the screen. And it would actually, you would use the GPU, the integrated GPU, or whatever GPU you had to render effects, like when you flip through Windows.
Yep.
Instead of doing an Alt tab, you can do a Windows tab.
Windows tab. And you get the cascade effect.
Yeah. And they stopped doing that. Yeah, they don't do that anymore.
That's funny. It does kind of work, but it doesn't do the cascade anymore.
No,
it tiles your windows, but it does an animation for the tiling.
Yeah.
You hit Alt Tab, it just snaps to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's funny. It does that to the video too. Look at that.
All right. By the way, Jeremy, $2 donation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The XP article's date was 2021. I have no idea how this article wound up in this position, because I had another article that said happy 21st birthday. I don't know if I just pulled up the wrong one or
it could
what.
be, yeah. I didn't put it in there.
Yeah.
Don't blame me.
Pretty sure AMD quoted ATI in 2008, and a couple people chimed in 2006. Yes, the ATI takeover was in 2006. So technically, I had an ATI X1600.
Okay.
And even the 2000 series on desktop was still ATI. It's not until the 3000 series, your 3850s and 3770s and cards like that, that AMD took over the branding.
Yeah, it took me a while to stop calling them ATI for the longest time. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot AMD bought them. Oh, I forgot.
Yep. Well, it's about perfect timing. It's 7 o'clock, and I am just about done with this beer.
Just finished mine?
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, it was... I don't know if I liked it that much, to be honest. Because it was too hoppy to be a good ESB, and it wasn't hoppy enough to be like an IPA.
Interesting.
So
yeah.
It was like it was the middle ground that made me want it either go this way or this way.
Right.
So it was interesting, but I don't know if I really liked it that much. I would say that I did not really like it that much. I mean, it was fine, drinkable beer, but it seemed like it tried to blend ESBs and IPAs together, and I don't think those are two things that should be mixed together. I don't know. Maybe if they used a different hop, it might be better.
Yeah, I've had beers like that where it's that super deep malt like an ESB, or like I said, if I had to describe the Dead and Dead, it's very reminiscent of a Scotch ale.
Yeah,
the way that they've done this up, and it's phenomenal. Or like a malty brown or a red or something like that. But I've had beers with just a little too much hop that didn't blend at all into the flavor. And that sounds kind of like what you're describing, where a different blend, or maybe if it wasn't dry hopped, maybe if it was
more subdued or something like that. Yeah.
More subdued, more laid back in the flavor. It could have been an interesting add-on.
Yeah. I do remember back in the day, CDAs, which Cascadian Dark Ales, were kind of all the rage. And for people who don't know, Cascadian Dark Ales are basically like a porter or a stout, but they're like really hopped. So they're kind of like a dark IPA, but with more roasted malts in it. And I've had some that were absolutely delicious, and there's some that were just like, no, these two things do not go together. So it really depends. You have to be really, really well knowledged about what flavors your hops bring and how much to put in there, because you can definitely go overboard and make it so that these two things do not blend together. But yeah, this one was like, it was tolerable, but I wouldn't consider it my favorite. So that's why I'm like, okay, let's go for fresh hop. Yeah.
Yes. And while you're going for fresh hop, I'm going to go for the Ex Novo collaboration with Puff Coffee, the Magic Stout.
Puff the Magic Stout.
Puff the Magic Stout.
Yeah.
Well, that is definitely a thinner stout. Like you can see through the stream. Also pours little bubbly.
Ooh. Oh, this is absolutely delicious. Mm.
I'm taking back any criticism I may have had previously.
Okay.
Wow.
Good tasting, huh? Yeah. Honestly, mouthfeel is kind of like, yeah, I could give or take it.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I've had just an absolutely delicious tasting stout and it was still feeling kind of thin, whatever. I'll get over it really quick if it tastes good. Oh yeah. This one's absolutely delicious. It's kind of slightly piney, a little bit of grapefruit, a little bit of orange. Kind of hazy, but I don't know if this is I don't think this is categorized as a hazy. But definitely, you can tell it's a fresh hop because it's got that kind of green grass almost flavor to it, that fresh green flavor to it. But it's not like overpowering. It doesn't taste like you're drinking lawn clippings or anything like that. But there's definitely a green freshness to it.
Yeah, I do like me a fresh hopped
I do too.
IPA. So is this one exceedingly oily, or is it dry on the back end?
It's actually kind of dry on the back end. Yes, I have had some that are kind of oily. Like I said, we went to the St. Paul Fresh Hop Beer Festival earlier this month, and that was great. Actually, Great Notion was there with their version of fresh hop beer, and that was phenomenal.
Ooh,
Great Notion making a fresh hop beer. Ah, dude, that was my.
Why didn't you call me?
Didn't we?
No.
Okay. I thought I said something.
Are you going to the Cider Fest this Saturday?
Is it Bauman's?
Salem.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a Cider Fest in Salem, downtown.
This Saturday, huh?
This Saturday.
It depends. I might have somebody coming over on Saturday.
Blow them off.
I have. Lord willing, I'll be making my second hot sauce this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. I've been getting into making my own hot sauce, growing my own peppers, fermenting them, making my own hot sauce. Ram, one of our moderators and channel regulars, he does the same thing too. Shipped me out some hot sauce from Australia, and man, it was good stuff.
All right, I think I redeemed the
spicy.
pour.
There you go.
Look at that.
That looks good.
Nuldev says, oily, grassy taste. That's quite the sales speak. You obviously don't like IPAs.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Good stuff, huh?
Oh, wow. That is good. That is just the right amount of stout mixed with just the right amount of coffee.
I love that.
Like
blend.
Like, holy crap. This is delicious.
One of the first things that I was super surprised about blending well with coffee was IPA. A good, well-blended coffee IPA. You wouldn't think that would be a good combo, but it actually is.
Rogue does their cold brew IPAs.
That's the one. That's the one that I had. That was like, dude, this is
Did you have the 1.0 or the 2.0?
The 1.0 when they first released it.
They're both fantastic. Yes. They really are.
It's kind of funny because the first time I tried it, Deschutes used to, or was it Deschutes? Yeah, no, it was Rogue. Rogue used to be at the Portland airport. I was flying out to visit my brother in Tampa. And so, we always like to stop at whatever's there, whether it be Deschutes or Rogue, whatever breweries at the airport, and have a couple pints before, we get on the plane. And so we fly out to Tampa, and right next to the Tampa airport is Cigar City. So we go there to the Rogue, and Rogue's like, oh, this is our new IPA. It's a coffee IPA. I'm like, whoa, very interesting. Let's try this. And I'm like, oh, this is phenomenal. Delicious. It was called Cold Brew IPA. And so I go flying out 6 hours later because the flight from Portland to Tampa. Get in right when Cigar City's about to close. And they're like, hey, We got a brand new IPA. It's got coffee in it. It's called Cold Brew IPA.
Nice.
And I'm like, I just had this, but it was in Portland. And I drank it. And I'm like, sorry, buddy, but the Portland one was better.
Gearling chimes in with $10. Thanks for the shirt. I'm wearing it now.
Nice.
So I just told Gearling to tweet it out. For those who don't know, down in craftcomputing.store, check it out down in the video description. We've got some TOS uniform inspired shirts.
I like
so we've got all three divisions. We've got security, command, and
science.
Yeah. Right. And so go check them out. They're pretty dope. May or may not have been featured in my recent Linode ad. I've worn them in a couple of videos now. Go check it out.
I think it just made my camera worse.
And I could only think of one person truly that needed a red shirt. And that was Gearling. So, glad you're enjoying it, Jeff. Speaking of enjoying things, I don't know that I will be enjoying the following. Arbys is releasing a smoked bourbon.
Yeah.
Not bourbon smoked, not like ribs with bourbon inspiration, but a smoked bourbon.
Right.
Inspired by its sandwiches. I have never once bit into a roast beef or a brisket or any kind of sandwich and go, you know what this would be great as? In a drink.
Yeah. It's like, I really like this big beef and cheddar, but I would really like to have it burn as I'm going down my throat.
Right.
My whiskey needs more meat flaps. He's like, no, those are phrases you've never heard anybody utter. But I guess Arbys wants to make a smoked bourbon.
Smoked bourbon. It's made in partnership with Ohio craft distillery Brain Brew and will be available in California, Colorado, Florida, Kentucky, New Hampshire, New York, and Washington, D.C. Oh, thank God, not Oregon.
Yes. I'm sure some bourbon aficionados and Arbys aficionados, I'm sure there's a Venn diagram somewhere. I don't think it's that much of a crossover, but there's got to be it there. Otherwise, they wouldn't put this out, right? I would think that, yes, Kentucky, probably that Venn diagram might get a little closer. People who like bourbon and people who like Arbys. I can't see that too much with California or Colorado.
Where's the meat? Hopefully not in my bourbon.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you ever tried the bacon flavored vodka. Did you ever try that before?
Bacon vodka. No, but you tried to force on me peanut butter bourbon before.
That's gross. Yeah, that stuff was disgusting.
Awful.
Yeah, no, it was not good. Yeah, that peanut butter. No, it was peanut butter whiskey. It says like it's one of the flavored whiskeys. And at first sip, it's like, oh, this is interesting. And then as each sip progresses, it gets worse and worse and worse until by the end, you're like, this is gross. I just don't want it anymore. But no, the bacon vodka was also disgusting. I'm sure it's great in a Bloody Mary, but I'm just not a Bloody Mary fan. I don't know. It's just me.
William says, that's okay, Jeff. I'll send you a bottle along with a 6-pack of Samuel Smith's Oatmeal Stout.
Samuel Smith's Oatmeal Stout is good stuff, though. We get that out here, though. We get Samuel Smith out here.
We do.
That's the organic stuff.
I was not a fan.
I think it's not like the best, but it's not bad.
I straight up was not a fan.
Really?
Straight up disliked that.
I wonder if it was just sitting on the shelf too long.
It's possible.
Yeah.
But the bottle shop nearest me does a very good job at storing things and keeping things cold that need to be cold.
These are imports because those Samuel Smiths come from the UK.
Right, they're from UK.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible I just got a bad batch. But it's also entirely possible that I just hate that crap.
It could be too. Oh yeah, speaking of meat flavored drinks, me and John eventually did do the hot dog flavored seltzer water.
Mm-hmm.
And
hot dog hard seltzer.
Hot dog hard seltzer, that's right. But the sound was bad. So I got to film it again. I got to go back and do it. Because we couldn't drink the whole thing. There's no way we were going to drink the whole thing. Yeah, we gotta redo this one.
Yeah.
So look forward to that.
Yep.
Once John produces it.
So next story, Steve and I are kind of in agreement here. Me more so outraged than Steve was, but I think both of us are fairly offended by this. Mm-hmm. The highest rated beer in every state circa 2022. This is according to vinepair.com.
Well, actually, it's according to they took the ratings from Beer Advocate.
Right.
This is who made the article, but the ratings were from Beer Advocate.
Yes. So if we scroll down, they've got a list of every state and every state's best rated beer.
Correct. And that's Oregon?
I'm just going to scroll down to Oregon.
Yeah.
How in the ever-loving is a Saison the number one rated beer in Oregon?
I don't know. It's like Saisons have kind of gone out of fashion in the recent years.
They're also so polarizing as far as people who drink them go. Some people drink a Saison to feel pain just so they can. And some people drink a Saison because they're twisted and backwards.
Yeah,
like
and the DeGard, just to be fair, the DeGard says, because there's some Saison, like the Logston Saisons are actually really delicious, but the DeGard Saisons are a lot more funky and sour.
It's straight up like over fermented funk.
Yeah,
like it's that kind of. It tastes like a beer has turned, and then they decided to bottle it.
That's what some Saisons taste like, absolutely.
Right, and I'm just not a fan of that. Like, and to be clear, I'm a fan of a lot of different beer styles, but typically whenever anyone asks, like, what beer do you like? My answer is always pretty much anything, just not farmhouses.
Yeah, farmhouses are definitely a crapshoot because that style is you just naturally ferment what you're making. So
right, it's wild yeast and natural fermentation.
Yeah, it's
for those who don't know.
Area.
Right.
So you get regional flavors. So like DeGard, which is in Tillamook, so it's at the coast. Definitely a lot more funkier flavors.
Tastes a lot like rotten cheese and cow.
Yeah. But Logsden, which is in like I think closer to Hood River. Theirs are almost like Belgian-y tasting. Their Saisons are almost like German beers, and they're like delicious.
Right.
So, it just depends on where you get them from, and it depends on what you like. I mean, like some people love blue cheese. I think blue cheese is disgusting because of that funky.
I think it's awful.
Like you're licking a sock flavor.
Right. Like I've eaten mold accidentally before. I don't need to eat it on purpose.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's how I feel about blue cheese and Saisons, because they're often over fermented, wild yeast. Like it's got a bit of a funk to it. It's got a bit of a tang.
It definitely does.
I just don't agree with.
Some people absolutely love it.
Right. But how in the world did a Saison reach the highest rated beer in Oregon?
Yeah, I don't know. See, here's the thing. It's like they used Beer Advocate, which Beer Advocate, it was kind of the first website to kind of start rating beers. So a lot of the real snooty beer snobs used Beer Advocate. And then Untapped came out. And Untapped was the beer rating for the populace, right? It's like everybody used Untapped. So,
like I can go down this list and I can agree with just about everything else.
I can. Like I looked at Washington. The Washington ones, that's appropriate.
Utah, Big Bad Baptista.
Oh yeah, of course. That's great.
11.7% American Imperial Stout. Vermont Heady Topper, the original hazy IPA. Like, you can't go wrong there. Coffee Cinnamon Bee Bomb from Fremont. Phenomenal beer out of Washington.
Oh yeah, Nevada. See, I went and looked at Nevada because I was thinking maybe Able Baker would be on there, but no, it was Revision and their Disco Ninja, which Revision is in Reno, but yes, they're actually great. They have great IPAs.
Right.
So Disco Ninja is good too. So that's totally fine and appropriate.
Yeah, Revision New England IPA. I love it. There's a lot of other beers that I recognize on this. There's Other Half Brewing out of New York. Their 4th anniversary IPA, 10%. Ohio's Jackie O's Pub and Brewery, their American Stout Approvision, 15%.
Illinois' got Bourbon County Stout. And they got the Bourbon County Coffee Stout. Which, okay, totally perfect.
And so
always look forward to Bourbon County. You've
got Founders up in Michigan with the CBS, 11.3%. You know, your Canadian Breakfast Stout. Goes Gone Wild from Maryland. There are so many good beers on this list. How is Oregon not representing a stout or an IPA?
You're more upset about this than I was about White Claw being the barbecue beverage of Oregon.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. If I go to a barbecue and someone says, "Hey, do you want a drink?" and I go, "Yeah," and then they show me a cooler full of White Claw, I'm probably not going to be disappointed.
I would be.
If it's nothing but Bud Light, Miller Lite, you know, Heineken, like, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be like, "Do you have any water or lemonade or something?"
Well, I'd probably take a Miller Lite over a White Claw, to be fair. But
I'll take a White Claw. I'm not ashamed to say it.
I don't mind Miller so much, but the others, yeah, I'll probably take the White Claw over those.
Mm-hmm. But how does the Saison top the list of Oregon beers? I can name 24 Oregon beers before I would even consider adding a Saison to the list.
I have to try this. I mean, to be fair, I have not tried this one. So
I
don't know.
Have
you had this one, the Nectarine Premier?
Yeah.
From DeGard?
Yes. I have tried this one. It's
Untapped.
It's all right.
Think I have.
I mean, it's a Saison. If it were me, I'd give it like a 3.25. So perfect score being 5.0, I gave it a 3.25.
I have not.
It is what it says it is. It's a Saison. Okay. It's
got nectarine in it.
Right.
Yeah. Oh well. I don't know. Yeah, because I would have been for sure thinking that it would have been some kind of IPA or something, that maybe Great Notion or Oakshire or somebody.
Right. Like put any Great Notion beer out there, especially Great Notion IPA or Triple Stacks or, some of the most sought after beers nationally that we have. Put in Fort George Cavatica Stout. Put in Oakshire Hellshire.
Yeah.
Heck, even, go with Rogue. Go with like the 8-hop Rogue IPA or Dead Guy Ale or Deschutes Black Butte Porter. Like, there are so many better beers than that.
I don't understand it. There's a almost cult-like following to DeGard, and I don't understand it. I think DeGard's okay, but I think it's really hit and miss.
Right.
And for the same reason that we talked about, like, some people just
DeGard is more of a specialty brewery where if you like what they produce, you're going to be in heaven. Yes. However, if you don't like that style of beer, if you don't like sours and saisons and farmhouses and things like that, they don't have a lot to offer the general public.
Yeah. And it's like if you go to a cheese factory and all they give you is blue cheese and you don't like blue cheese.
Right.
And you're like,
they produce the best blue cheese around. Well, that means only 15% of people are actually going to eat this.
Yeah.
Like, it should not be the best beer.
Yeah. I wouldn't think it would be. The only thing I can think of is that it's because it's Beer Advocate and not Untapped. I would like to see the same rating, but instead of using Beer Advocate, they use Untapped.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a bigger pool of people from Untapped than there is Beer
I would
Advocate.
agree with that. And like you said, more of a general populace pool than simply the beer elitists.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just didn't get that one. Not at all.
I agree. I was a little disappointed too. I was hoping he was something else, but
like Alaska, they went with Anchorage with
Anchorage is great.
with Blessed. Like,
yes, no, Blessed is awesome.
Right. Sun Up White Russian Imperial Stout, 9.2% out of Arizona. Pliny the Younger out of California, Russian River
Pliny's
Brewing.
great.
Like,
yeah.
How can you go wrong with any of those?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think. Okay, take that back. I have not had Pliny the Younger. I've had Pliny the Elder. Pliny the Younger is their imperial version of Pliny the Elder.
Right.
And that one's kind of hard to come by. But I do like Pliny the Elder.
Right.
So.
Anyway, I'm done with my local non-appreciative rant.
About the best beer in our state. Yeah.
Hold on. Gearling says he's stuck in the airlock. Let me scroll down. I can fix this. I think I can fix this.
Oh, on the Discord?
Yep.
All right.
There he is.
Yeah.
All right. Roles. We will add him to the guest role. All right. Gearling, you should be good to go. And in fact, I'm going to reply to this and at Gearling Guy. There we go. Now you can see the glory that is you doing Journey. Welcome to my Discord server. All right. We've got one more beer story and then a couple more gaming stories to get to. Boston Beer Company introduces the first tequila-based RTD beverage, Loma Vista Tequila Soda. So this is a ready-to-drink cocktail. And it's the first one that's based on actual tequila.
Yeah.
There have been margarita-inspired cocktails and things of that nature that have hit store shelves before. In fact, I actually rather enjoyed a ready-to-drink cocktail. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
I've had several that were actually really good. In
right.
fact, I was reading, I was actually going to post this article instead of, well, John posted this one, but basically what it was that these RTDs are taking over seltzers.
Mm-hmm.
In like, well, especially when it comes to like breweries, I would say.
Right.
When it comes to like White Claws and places that are mass producing it, but I'm talking about breweries. Instead of doing their seltzers, they're finding they're not as popular as these RTDs.
Right.
And I actually experienced this myself. We went up to Washington. I for my son's birthday, we went to the Great Wolf Lodge, and they had a brewery, restaurant, distillery right next to it. And that's what they had. They had their own beer, and then they had their own RTDs in cans. And I bought like a 6-pack of, I asked them if I could mix and match them. And they said, yeah, sure. So I did like a 6-pack of different kinds, and I tried them all, and they were all really good. And I'm like, I would definitely take this over a seltzer any day. Now, is it less than calorie count? No, I don't think it is. But it does definitely taste better than most of the seltzers I've had at craft places. So this one is the first tequila-based one that I've seen, with using real tequila instead of just like some agave-flavored beverage. Which a lot of the places that are like, oh, we have this tequila-inspired drink. It's most likely just malt beverage with agave added to it.
Right, and that's a typical way to get tequila-inspired flavors, is to do agave sweetener.
Yeah.
Because real tequila isn't real tequila unless it's made with the agave plants in agave, Mexico.
Yeah.
It has to be from that specific region, kind of like champagne is just sparkling wine unless it's made in Champagne, France.
And if it's not, it's mezcal.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, I prefer mezcal because you can actually do some creative things with it instead of saying, this is tequila.
It has to be this, yeah.
Very much like bourbon and rye. Tequila is a very specific vessel for spirits. It requires you to be produced in a certain area, maintain a certain grain balance, and everything else. And to be quite honest, it can stifle some creativity. Whereas if you get some blended American whiskeys, the sky's the limit. Like, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
As long as you age it 4 years, you can technically be called an American whiskey and add whatever spirits, whatever barrel aging, whatever extra flavoring, whatever you want. And you can come up with some pretty unique things. You can also come up with some crap things, which is why there's such regulation on what you can call bourbon and rye and tequila.
Yeah.
But I don't like traditional tequila, but I do really enjoy good mezcals.
Yeah.
In fact, there's one on my shelf right back there.
Yeah.
That's a mezcal, and it's freaking amazing.
I kind of want to go to it maybe next year, and it usually comes up early to midsummer. They have the Tequila Mezcal Taco Festival up in Portland, which I've always wanted to go, but I have not had. The timing was just not right. Because all that combined sounds awesome. I am a taco aficionado. I love my good tacos. Some of the best tacos in the world I ever had was just like a good seasoned meat with a good sauce and just like a little bit cilantro, lime, and a cabbage, and that was it. And man, if you get those elements just right, it's the best taco in the world, man. I'm telling you.
Can I just say, goddamn you all? Check out the Talking Heads channel in Discord.
Oh no. What is this? Oh my gosh.
At least it isn't my ding dang dong.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
We do have a couple of entertainment notes, or at least one entertainment and one gaming note. First off, James Gunn has officially taken charge of DC comic movies and TV series.
Right.
That's kind of big news from someone who is very invested into the space in general.
Yeah.
So James Gunn directed Guardians of the Galaxy, Peacemaker, Suicide Squad, and a bunch of others. And he's actually just been named co-CEO of DC movies, DC comic movies. So he will be the creative head and chief executive officer of any future DC related movies.
Which is good, because the past DC movies have been varying from like, oh, that's okay, to absolutely horrible.
Yes. Did you see Suicide Squad? Because I did.
The very first one, but the James Gunn one, I really liked, actually.
Yeah.
I thought it was excellent.
I've only seen the original. I've only seen the first Suicide Squad.
Watch the new one done by James Gunn. It's much better.
Which was an hour and 45-minute movie. The first 40 minutes of which they spent doing non-in-person character introductions, of which they're like flipping through a notebook going like, oh, Harley Quinn, she's a bad dude, man. Like, she one time, and then it fades in and then does like this 2-minute sequence of like Harley Quinn breaking out of a jail. And then they're like, oh man, the Fish. Yeah, he's a bad guy. And then it fades into 2 minutes of him like breaking out of jail.
Yeah.
Do you see a pattern here? That was the first 25 minutes of the movie, was introducing like 8 different characters.
That was their idea of character development, which was very shallow, yeah.
They then move into the jail because we're talking about doing the Suicide Squad, and they introduce 6 of those 8 characters because the other 2 can't be bothered to actually be there. And then they go, well, who's this guy? Oh, that's Deadeye. He's another bad dude. And then they fade to like a 5-minute clip of him. And then for some reason, the FBI director is at like dinner with someone and they're talking about this and like, yeah, can we get this guy as well? And then it fades in. There's 40 minutes of character introductions. And then they finally get the band together. And then they have to introduce you to 2 new characters who they didn't bother covering in the first 40 minutes. And then they kill one of the new characters who you don't care about anyway.
Yeah, you don't care
to prove a point, and it's like, I didn't know him. And none of the other people knew him either. And he's dead now, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, the very first Suicide Squad was absolutely horrible. This one, the one that James Gunn did, I would highly recommend. It's actually really good. And the Peacemaker series that he put out on Showtime is really good as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that James Gunn is taking this over, and just, I like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies as well.
Yeah.
This is good. This is hopefully going to take it in a better direction than what it has been. I mean, I guess the latest Batman movie, I didn't mind that so much. I thought that was decent up to a point. But it wasn't anywhere near the Christian Bale movies.
Right.
So hopefully this is going to be a new boon for DC, kind of as the Marvel ones are kind of getting a little stale. Those movies are getting a little stale too, to be fair.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, I haven't, and the TV series that they put out, I haven't really found any of them to be like super great.
No.
Either.
If anything, I kind of like what DC has been doing with their TV series, with Arrow and Flash and things like that.
I would say the very first couple seasons of Arrow and the very first couple seasons of Flash were pretty decent.
Yeah.
But they all went downhill really fast. Especially the last couple seasons of Arrow were really bad. These last couple seasons of Flash have been terrible. I haven't even tried watching any of the ones. I'm like, I don't care.
Let's see. Tech Geek chimes in with $50. Thank you, as always, Tech Geek. It is very much appreciated. Evening, gents. Just got done with work, watching on my way home, but I'll rewatch the first half later. Don't watch us in the car, unless you're like on a bus or something.
It's fine.
Just watch us when you get home. Like, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but be safe, okay? Drinking an orange dreamsicle monster tonight. Cheers.
Well, once you get home, you can add vodka to that if you want.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a nightcap.
Yeah, it is.
Mijik asks, Craft Computing, is that a custom molded IEM in-ear monitor that you're sporting there? Wouldn't happen to have a vid planned on the molding experience? No to both of the above. This is the Sennheiser IE40. It is a phenomenal in-ear monitor that I bought specifically for its bass response. So I am a bass player. I haven't played in probably 3 or 4 years because I no longer have a group to play with. But I bought these for in-ear on-stage monitors and then completely forgot about them. I forgot I had them in my bass case. So I was using some monoprice in-ear monitors when we started going remote with this whole Talking Heads thing. And then I went, oh, right, I have some actual in-ear monitors that are really good quality. So I pulled them out, and I've been using them for about the last year or so. But these are not custom molded. They're just the generic rubber tips. But they are exceedingly comfortable. The earpieces on them are 100% moldable. So you can
they get moldable, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so you
nice.
you can fit them in any radius or any size along your ear, and they just stay in place. And that's primarily why I bought them. Now, for a pair of earbuds, if you're just looking for that, they're $100. They're pretty expensive. For a genuine set of in-ear monitors, they're only $100. They're pretty affordable. Like, it all depends on your outlook on this type of gear. So, yeah. Tech Geek says, fine, I'll listen on the way home. Or listen on the way home. Yes, please be safe.
Yes.
Like I know I'm amazing, but please make it home. All right. Last but not least, and then we'll probably have some time for some Q&A. So
Sure.
Get your questions ready. If you submit a question before I'm done with this story, though, I probably won't scroll up high enough to read it. So wait to ask your question until after I say, okay, let's take some questions now. Everyone understand? Probably not, but thank you. So there's been a running meme for a couple of years, but this year it really lit some fire. And that is the, hey, be careful this Halloween. I just cut open my kid's Snickers and found the Beastie Boys inside of it.
Yeah.
Or like all of 90s funk music inside of it, or like 38 razor blades inside of it. And it's become a meme template that you can download and Photoshop to your heart's content. And it's amazing. I'm totally here for it. Well, Adafruit decided to go their own route with it and actually took a Milky Way bar and put into it a single board computer that is capable of playing Doom. So be careful out there, parents. We just got our kids Halloween candy and inspected it, and inside of it was the 1993 first-person shooter of the year.
Oh yeah, not only that, but the MS-DOS.
Right.
MS-DOS version of it, yeah.
Right.
Which, of course, you have to be careful. You don't want to get your kids addicted to MS-DOS.
Right.
That would be bad.
Yeah.
But the fact that they actually got it in there in a wrapper, I think that's pretty hilarious.
My hat's off to that. That was
really good.
Awesome.
I'm not too sure how they control it, but
yeah. It could just be a video playing as well. I'm not sure.
It could be.
Because if it was me, I'd probably do a small video player inside, because that's way more achievable than
it's super easy.
than I/O and wireless and all that other stuff that comes with that. Yeah, it's that's cool. I will say I have been revisiting the original Doom as of late.
Right.
Have you downloaded the voxel Doom mod for GZ Doom?
I did see it, but I have not downloaded it, actually.
Do it.
Is it really cool?
It really gives another dimension to Doom. It allows you to jump.
Which was missing from the original
Which is
Doom,
quite helpful in certain spots, especially if you're traversing like lava or goo or anything like that, like poison and whatnot. You can hop along that and take minimal damage because you're not in contact with it for long enough. And so
does it allow you to aim up and down? Because
it allows you to aim up and down with mouse or controller aiming.
Okay, because that's what it was. The original one, you just had to point in the direction,
right, and it would automatically
go up or down,
right,
depending on how you shot.
No, this one keeps your shots in a line and actually relies on you aiming, and so it adds a little bit of difficulty to it, but it's a realism element to it that I really like. But the voxel creatures, oh my god, they are better, freaking awesome.
Well, that was the like original premise behind voxels.
This is how like 8-year-old me remembers playing Doom.
Yeah.
Except everything was only ever 2D sprites inside of Doom. It's like mixing Descent and Doom in your mind's eye, because Descent was the first game ever with full 3D enemies.
Yeah.
Fully 3-dimensional rasterized enemies.
Was that the first one? Are you taking into account vector? We're
not taking into account vector because technically Tank and a couple other games had.
Or it was what was the arcade? It was battle tanks or something like that.
Yeah, the battle tanks. There was what was that? Tempest.
Also Tempest used vector, but they weren't 3D models.
Yeah,
it was just a flat screen where you moved the thing around.
Right.
Whereas like battle tanks, tanks, you had the 2 sticks and you moved around. You put your eyes in the thing and you went and you moved around a 3D scape with 3D.
Yeah, but I know if not the very first, Descent was one of the first to have fully rasterized 3D enemies, not sprites.
Right.
Now all the power-ups in that were still sprites, as were they in Doom. But they've converted everything to vector graphics. Or not vector, but voxel graphics. And it looks incredible. I've actually been playing it on my Aya Neo Air because I've been looking for games that I can play at 5 watts on that, and Voxel Doom is one of them because it's an incredibly simple game. But it's awesome. Like I cannot recommend it enough.
Yeah, I do remember seeing videos of it when it first got released and being intrigued by it, because I do remember way back when voxels were first starting to get prominent. Well, I wouldn't say they were ever prominent, but the technology first came out and they started introducing into games. And the whole premise is that, hey, this is a totally scalable technology. Right. And so that as technology gets better and better, we can scale up the number of voxels that are here, and it's going to look better and better and better. Never really took off like that. I mean, of course, Minecraft is all voxel based too, actually. Right. But which is probably one of the most successful games of all time. But it's not in a sense that it's a scalable thing. It's just voxels are being used as your environment, right? And how you build things. But yeah, no, this is super interesting. I'm going to go check it out eventually. I hope. When I have time.
It's pretty good. Yeah. The nice thing about Doom is the levels are so short. They're like, even if you're not speed running, they're like 4 minutes each. They're not very long, yeah. And so you can dive in and dive out and play one level of Doom and go like, okay, cool, my thing's rendered or compiled or ready to go now. Yeah. I can move on with my day. Mm-hmm. So it's been sitting next to me on my desk here for quite a few days, and I've just been cranking out one level at a time.
Right. Just like, I got it done, so let's go on to the next one.
There we go. Yep. Exactly. Let's see.
All right.
All right. I think that about does it for the news. So if you have any questions, now is the time to submit them. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate it. John Jay says, did they just chocolate coat a pregnancy test?
Could be.
All right. Let's see. Craft Computing, how much are you using the Nreal? Have you played with the Air yet? I have not played with the Nreal Air yet. I am using I do have the Nreal Air. If that's what you're asking. One sec here. Oh, looks like they pulled it back off Amazon. They're probably out of stock. So I did a review on the Nreal Air, and I still use it at least once a week. It is definitely within my rotation. I will primarily use it on nights that I don't sleep very well. And just like I said in the review video, where I don't want to wake my wife up, but I also don't want to get out of bed. So before, I would grab whatever console was next to me, whether it's an Iron Odin or an Ion Neo Next or a Steam Deck or whatever else. And I just start going to town on that, turn the brightness all the way down, and hope she doesn't wake up. But eventually she'd wake up, even with headphones in. Just the light. She can't handle
it's the
light.
Big thing. Yeah.
Right. But now I have the Nreal Air, so I can just throw some glasses on my face. I get a screen that's 200 inches wide.
Right.
And
they don't get glaring things in their face. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I still use it at least once a week, if not more than that. It is definitely going to be a mainstay in my travel bag. And it's awesome. Let's see. You may fire questions when ready, says Skull. How many bombers do you have, Craft Computing? It's kind of a personal question, isn't it?
How many bombers do you have in the morning, Craft Computing?
Right. Well, I start off my day with two.
Two bombers.
Right. No. I know I have 12 in the bottom of this.
Yeah. Become a lot less prominent. They are typically reserved for kind of the big bourbon barrel age things.
Correct. Anymore, bombers are not coming as your standard IPAs and things like that. You could get them pre-circa 2020. But they're really going away for nothing but specialty beers. And so your Goose Islands, your dragon, dragon's milk, your things like that. And so I've got, like I said, about 12 in this fridge right here. I've got, I think, 8 in our second fridge upstairs. And then I've probably got another 6 to 8 out in my garage fridge.
Yeah, I think most of mine are just cellaring right now. I think I might have one bomber. No, I don't have any bombers in my fridge, actually. I'm on my beer fridge, because I have my beer fridge upstairs in the garage. And then I have my bar downstairs, which there's some storage space underneath it. That's where I cellar all my, big barrel-aged beers down there. Everything down there is pretty much either a 12-ounce bottle or a bomber. No cans down there.
Alice wants to know, what's the airspeed of a swallow carrying a coconut? I don't know. Has he pooped yet?
Is it African or European? You have to ask.
Right. I mean, are we in Capistrano or are we watching them leave? Like, there's 2 different aspects.
Why is Steve possessed by Satan? I just gonna say, I'm on the bridge. Someone's trying to teleport me out, but it's glitching. O'Brien's been hitting the scotch.
Crap, they're just cloning you at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. The camera last month was working great, and it's been glitching out today for some reason. I don't know why.
It's a brand new camera, and it's a good one too.
I know. I don't know what the deal is. I just turned it on today, and it starts glitching, and it was fine. I just used it not that long ago. Yeah, and it was totally fine. I have to smack it around too.
Chuck wants to know, do I have a link to that Doom version? So it's GV Doom, GZ Doom is the engine that you need to download, and that is the modern recreation of the original Doom engine. And then there are mods that you can add to it, one of them being the Voxel Doom mod. That is a separate download. We talked about it 2 or 3 weeks ago on the show. I don't remember when precisely. But if you just search Voxel Doom, you'll find the download. So yeah, Voxel Doom, your original WAD files for Doom levels. So your Doom 1, your Doom 2, your Ultimate Doom, Final Doom, that kind of thing. You'll need those from your legitimate sources, whether it be GOG or Steam. And then you'll need GZ Doom, which is the actual modern engine that supports it all. So, have any of you ever tried New Glauer spears? I spent a week in Wisconsin, and they spent that entire week saying, we have the best beer. Have you had Spotted Cow?
Glauer. Yes, I've had Spotted Cow.
I've had Spotted Cow.
It's good, but it's not the best. It's good, though. It's okay. It's pretty good.
Yeah. In fact, what was the top beer in Wisconsin?
Oh, I don't know. I closed the browser down.
Central Waters Brewing, Black Gold, American Imperial Stout, 11%.
And I think.
So even your state didn't rate Spotted Cow as the best beer in the state.
I think Spotted Cow. So
shut up about it, would you?
I think Spotted Cow is actually kind of a low ABV too.
Yeah, it's 5.6, I want to say.
Yeah, something like that. I was going to say pretty low.
All right. Let's see.
4.8 actually. That's really low.
Yeah. If it's under 5, it's a hard pass for me.
It's a light beer at that point.
Yeah. When does the narwhal bacon?
I think that's a Reddit reference.
I'm assuming it is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Craft Computing, what under $200 system would you recommend getting now for making a high availability cluster for services you need to have running? Honestly, the Hive Zeus server is still available. If you go and look up my channel and just search for Hive Zeus, you'll find my review of it. It is a 2011 0 socket ×2. And actually, I did a clustering video with 3 of those servers. So I've got a Proxmox clustering video featuring the Hive Zeus, as well as a review of the Hive Zeus itself. You can load them up with up to 256 gigs of memory, fairly affordably since they use DDR3. And I tested failover inside of Proxmox, and it was awesome. It just frankly just worked. So go check out both of those videos, and I have links to eBay where you can buy those servers. Let's see. Michael says, I paid $350 for my 4K Logitech Brio webcam when it came out, and it's been nothing but trouble. Unfortunately, I purposely overpaid, hoping to never have issues. Yeah, the thing is, we're still dealing with USB bandwidth limitations and throughput limitations when it comes to higher than 1080 video. 1080-30 takes a lot of processing power. Now, cameras like Logitech often have encoders that are built in, so they'll send you what amounts to an MJPEG stream. But decoding those on the back end still takes a fair amount of juice. And there's really no perfect solution out there yet. Like, everyone wants to complain because their smartphone has a 12 megapixel camera that can capture 60 FPS and stream it wherever you want. That's all well and good, but there's an ARM processor that's directly hardwired to that that also powers your cell phone that enables all of that. An x86 processor, x86 AMD 64, is a general purpose processor. It has to brute force its things through a lot more things than we would like to acknowledge. So there's no specific instructions for decoding a camera feed. Which is why our webcams all still suck, is because we're relying on the webcams to do all the processing, and frankly, no one wants to spend $400 for what amounts to a smartphone high-end processor and a camera. Because we already did that in our cell phones and our cameras. So until someone decides to do it or someone comes up with a better way, the better way likely being cameras that are coming out that have HDMI clean output and going straight to a capture card. Because capture cards have gotten stupid freaking cheap. Like $10, you can get an HDMI 1080-60 capture card that plugs into USB, and it's not perfect raw footage, but it's darn close. And certainly serviceable for webcam usage. So a lot of people know the Elgato Cam Link. Epos Vox likes to call them the can't links because they're not. But they're super good. Like I even though I have a Blackmagic designed 4K by 4, I can do 4K 60 FPS streams of HDMI into this PC. Plus, I have another capture card that does 1080-60 by 2 on analog inputs for capturing retro stuff or VGA or servers or whatnot. Right. I have 6 HDMI 60 frame per second inputs. I still have a couple cant links around the studio because they just come in handy. So you can get them for like 10 or 15 bucks on Amazon. And if you can find an older camera like a Sony a5100 or some of the earlier cameras that'll do HDMI out, clean HDMI out, that's a way better solution for a webcam. So there you go. Let's see. I think Crypto Moonzer had some questions about Tesla cards earlier. Right, he had a C2090. I remember that. That is a Tesla card I have never worked with before, but it's based on Fermi. And it kind of all depends on what you want to do with that card, because that actually predates any VDI or vGPU enabling software. Kepler was the first generation, and it's still kind of the bastard child of VDI and vGPU in general. Really, to get into anything modern with support, you need Maxwell or higher. So I don't know what you want to do with it. I know you mentioned a problem with it posting. It's a card I've never dealt with because, good God, I don't want to deal with the cooling requirements of a Tesla C2090, nor do I really have any use for it. So, like, a Tesla P4 will annihilate that in every way, shape, and form. And you can get those for $140 today. So, when will we see an all hosts on Talking Heads in person craft computing?
It's a good question.
We've talked about that a couple of times.
Yeah, it was
we've
fun
had
when we did those.
We've had a couple scheduled over the last year and a half, and every single time they always get canceled. Either there's a COVID flare up and I wouldn't feel comfortable going out, or all of a sudden 2 of the 4 hosts have like other obligations on that night. Like we've legit scheduled like tasting rooms in tap houses. To go do an all hands on deck show where we would be fully catered with both drink and food. Like we know a lot of different locations for that kind of thing. And it's been on our radar before. New Year's party talking heads. Unfortunately, I already do a New Year's party where I bartend every year. And as does Steve.
Yes.
So,
well, I haven't done it the last couple of years. I've been to yours a couple times too, and those are always fun.
Yeah.
I typically will do a Halloween party. This is like the first year in a long time I have not done a Halloween party.
Yeah. What's really funny is only Steve and I will get this joke, but Steve walked over one year to our New Year's party, and he goes, "Oh, it's a cute setup you've got." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's only 12 bottles."
I remember that.
Because we both expect so much more.
Yeah, I know. Oh no, I developed an application to because there's several web apps out there that do like, okay, I have these ingredients, what cocktails can I make? But a lot of times they're just like, oh, well, you have vodka, therefore you can make this, this, and this. But it doesn't, it just tells you all the vodka drinks. It doesn't tell you all encompassing all ingredients that you can make. And so I finally made one that says, okay, you have to have all the ingredients before you can make it. So I used to get like spreadsheets of people's like, you bring this, you bring this, you bring this, you bring this. And if everybody brought it, therefore the menu here could all be accomplished. So I always printed out every year a menu so people can go flipping through. It's like, I want that, and I should have all the ingredients for it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do, is I will pick like 4 base spirits and then like 5 or 6 different liqueurs that I can have on hand. And I supply everything myself. So it's, if I need fruit, I buy the fruit. I buy the liquor. I buy the liqueurs. I buy everything else that I need, because I get some decent joy out of doing that. Now, one of the hosts for the New Year's party usually brings enough champagne for everyone to have at the end of the night. So I will snag a bottle of champagne and do Bellinis or similar cocktails with that. And I don't buy any soda, because if someone wants like a rum and Coke or a Jack and Cola or something like that, I can just go grab a Pepsi. It's not a big deal.
It's fine. Yeah, it's not a big deal. Yeah.
But I will come with at least a dozen to 16 like featured cocktails that are special that you won't find anywhere else, that I can make here and you can drink. And if you want me to make some standards, I've got a lot of stuff on hand to do
just make standards. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like one year we were doing like a Caribbean theme. And so it was a lot of rum drinks and a lot of things like that. And someone goes, "Hey, can you make me a fuzzy navel?" I went, "Sure."
Yeah, that's fine.
That's easy.
Yeah.
I got peach schnapps. I got rum. Like, let's do this.
Well, I think because John did this one time, and I thought it wasn't a bad idea, and maybe I should do this for like maybe future parties, because I do have the setup for taps, right?
Right.
And taps allow you to hook up CO2 to it, and you basically have compressed drinks, whatever. You could make there's like most corny cakes are 5 gallons. You can get like half of them, so it's like 2.5 gallons. You can totally get a couple of 2 liters of Coke and a bunch of rum and just put it in a tap, and people can have rum and Coke on tap. Pour it yourself, man. Pour it yourself.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah. So, John's did that once. I thought that's not a bad idea. Just like the basic drinks. You can have 2 taps of 2.5 gallons each. And one's like maybe a screwdriver, and the other one's like rum and Coke or something. And then people are just like, grab whatever you want. I've also seen the Arduino and Raspberry Pi bartenders where they have automated dispensing of the liquors to like they punch something and they get like, oh, that's my rum and coke, that's my gin and tonic, that's my tequila sunrise, and it does the exact ratios every single time. I've seen those before too. I thought about making one of those, but I don't know. Sometimes I want a stronger pour, sometimes I don't.
Yeah. Yep. All right, what else we got? Darkest DOS says, what server are you running El Polo Diablo's Deepfake on? And have you tried turning it off and on again?
No, actually, I did try turning it off and on. I noticed this camera was glitching before the stream started, and I did reboot, and I tried fidgeting around. I thought I had it taken care of, but about 5 minutes into the stream, it started glitching again, so I don't know.
New Year's bartender POV stream could be epic. That would be a lot of fun, because I'll make something like 80 cocktails in 4 hours.
We should have done the POV karaoke the last time you came over for the Halloween party. That was the best.
It's a good thing I could walk home.
You bogarted that karaoke for quite a bit. That was pretty fun. Yes.
I do karaoke.
Yeah.
So. Let's see. What else we got? It's 8:04. I can probably take 2 or 3 more questions. Sure. Just out of curiosity, have you ever played any tabletop RPGs, Dungeons & Dragons, Champions, Cyberpunk 2020, Shadowrun? Yes, but not for a very long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time for me as well.
Yeah.
It's been probably about 10 years, I think.
It's been longer than that for me. Yeah. For much of my adult life, I basically worked 2 jobs. So it would be my main employer plus a secondary employer, or my main employer plus having 4 or 5 different contracts out for MSP style services, or, you know, building PCs for various people, or like I've always had some other form of income other than my main job, which was 50 to 60 hours a week in most cases.
Yeah.
And then I kind of stopped doing the contract stuff in 2017 when I started the YouTube channel. And 2017 to 2020, I worked 60 to 70 hours a week at my main employer, and then probably 35 hours a week on craft computing. It's only 160 hours per week. Like
I know,
it dries up pretty quick.
You can't make time up. Yeah. So.
No, exactly. So, yeah, literally more than half of my waking life for 3 years was just working. I'm kind of happy to be back down to like 50 hours. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what to do with myself sometimes, and I feel guilty when I'm not working.
You make Rhett do the rest, so it's like he's your whipping boy now.
Well, I tried, but he killed a motherboard today. Like,
your paycheck, Rhett.
Yep. I used to do some D&D back in like the 3.0 or 3.2 days. I know everyone's all upset about the 5.0 rules and 5.5 revisions and things like that. I've heard all the forums. Like, I still keep in touch with a lot of people who do play Dungeons and Dragons, or what's the other one they migrated to?
Oh, I did. The last one I remember doing was Warhammer 40K.
Okay, yeah.
Was the last one I did.
No, they rotated to another one after the 4.0 release. Yeah. It's a lot of fun, but unfortunately I still can't find the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Same thing
I would love
with
to.
LAN parties. I used to love LAN parties, but it was like my whole Saturday was gone.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I don't have time for that anymore.
Now, for those wondering, I will be at PDX LAN. I have a seat this year, as does Rhett, for the November event.
Nice.
We will be gaming all 3 days.
Nice.
Plus, we're showing off a very freaking cool build, which I really hope I get done before I have to leave, at the Be Quiet booth. So look for that. Come say hi. I'll be there all weekend. More than happy to play games with you. But yeah, we went to PDX LAN in March, and we should come back and actually get a spot and just play games.
Yeah.
Because neither of us has had an opportunity to do that for quite literally years.
Yeah.
So
it's been, I think the last time I went to PDX LAN was probably about 7-8 years ago. It's been a long time.
Right. Yeah.
I've been a couple times, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So it's good times. If you happen to be going to PDX LAN, I'm actually going to be like on the main thoroughfare. Like when you walk in the hall, there's nothing but tables to your left. I'm on that first row of tables. So come say hi, please. Let's see. How about LARPs such as Vampire the Masquerade? Never got into LARPing. My brother-in-law did quite a bit of LARPing and actually still does from time to time. Pathfinder. That was what I was trying to hit on. So yeah, thanks, Skull, for the Pathfinder reminder. Let's see. Probably got one more question in me, and then we're gonna kill it and head to the after party.
Yep.
But I'm not seeing any more.
See some comments, but not questions.
What's the name of that LAN again? PDX LAN?
PDX LAN, yeah.
Strangely enough, it's up in Vancouver, or as we call it, Little Portland. Portland B.
Well, it used to be on the Portland side of the Columbia, but they have since moved it. Right,
they moved it to the Vancouver Expo Center.
Yeah.
And they've been there for the last good number of years.
Yeah.
6-7 years, something like that.
Yeah, that's about the time I stopped going was when they moved, yeah.
Yeah. So still very easy to get to. It's only 4 or 5 miles north of Portland on the Washington side of things. And it's a good time.
Well, it's about an hour's drive from you, about 45 from me, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. I think we're going to call it a show.
Yeah.
So,
it's a good one.
That has been episode 257 of Talking Heads. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news. Follow me on Twitter at Craft Computing. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, all that other stuff. Follow Steve on any platform you can find him.
Yeah, if you can find me, it's a mystery.
I know his Twitter handle, but none of you do. So, and I think that's gonna about do it. So, as always,